Yo, what is up YouTube? I'm Evan, this is Marksman Trading, and the topic of today's video is trading your trade thesis appropriately. So I had a good example of that on AMD. Even though it was a red trade, I still traded my plan, and Apple was actually a green trade, but I didn't trade my trading thesis like I should have. So I'll go over those examples. I also took two solid NQ trades, so I'm actually down in a stock account, very small red day. I'm down $2.47, but I'm up $77 in the prop firm account through Apex. By the way, if you guys are looking for a prop from account to trade through, Apex has a 71% off deal right now, and you can pass the account in 3 days. So use my coupon below or the link in my description, snag that discount. And if you guys are new here, be sure to subscribe. Check out my other trading videos. There's a lot of good trading content. I trade both stocks and futures, so you might like a lot of that. Now let's get into the recap. All right, so here's the first trade I took today, and it was on Apple. And as you can see, it was a green trade, and it was a phenomenal thesis, but the way I kind of executed it was I'm not too impressed with. So the thesis for this trade was, as you can see on the daily chart, Apple is super extended to the downside. It's currently, I believe, the second largest stock right now, and while the market's making new highs like it did today, Apple is not. It's still at the lows, and it just keeps gapping down. But finally, over the past couple days, you can see it's kind of consolidating and holding this 168, 169 level. And so today I came into the market thinking, all right, we're going to base out, we're going to rip higher, we're going to hold above VWAP, and we're going to get like a volume surge up to the upside. And that is exactly what happened. As you can see here in the 1 minute, my thesis played out perfectly. We got above VWAP, and we kind of pulled back, and that's where I entered. But this is also what I did wrong. So when I talk about making sure that executing your trade lines up with your trading thesis, in this case, I'm talking about my stop loss. So I took a starter here on this pullback at 942, 2 shares at 169.59, and it should have been more size. And the reason for that is because my stop loss was all the way at the low of day, down here at 169, because that's the previous day's close line, that's the low of day. I felt like if it gave that up, then for sure it would move down. But that didn't line up with my trading thesis. My trading thesis was for Apple to get above VWAP, hold it, move higher, I would get in on dips, and that's what happened, right? So an appropriate stop loss should have been at VWAP. Where am I proven wrong in the trade? That's where you want to put your stop loss, and I would have been proven wrong if it gave up VWAP and moved lower. So I could have had a higher stop loss, allowing me to take probably 4 or 5 shares as a starter if it was my stop loss was all the way down here to VWAP at like 169.40. And yeah, so even though it was a good entry, it should have been more size with a higher stop loss. So that's what I mean when you want to execute your trade thesis well. You don't want to have these random wide stops for no reason. You want to make sure your stop loss lines up well. You want to make sure your entries lines up well. You want to make sure your exits line up well. And I had decent exits. I exited on a pop at 946. I almost top ticked it. The high of that was 170.02, and I got out at 170.01. And then I got out on a volume move over here. Well, not so much a volume move, but just to kind of pop up at 170.32. And I did miss a huge move. As you can see, Apple did make crazy highs. And it was still a green trade, so I'll take it. But just kind of for the lesson for this video is this was not a good execution of my trading thesis. Now let's get into a good execution of my trading thesis, but that was a red trade, and that's AMD. All right, and here's the second trade of the day. And this trade had a good trade execution that was appropriate with my trading thesis, but it just didn't work out. And so honestly, I'm kind of more proud of this trade because I did trade it a little bit better than I did with the Apple trade, even though it was still a red trade and the Apple trade was a green trade. So the thesis for this trade was we had a solid move up, and then as you guys know, semiconductors are super strong right now, so AMD, Nvidia, stuff like that, super strong in this market. Huge move up, and then I was looking at this pullback to hold VWAP right here. On the 5 minute, you can see we have a bottoming tail at 1050, a wick bottom at 1045, and we're just kind of consolidating, holding that level. So I took a starter here. Once this flush at 1056 kind of got soaked at 1057, so I entered at 221.27, and I was risking to this level right below VWAP, so if it kind of closed below it in like the 220 level and stayed heavy, I would get out. Because my trade thesis was for it to hold VWAP, so I'm not going to have a super wide stop loss. I'm going to have an appropriate stop loss this time, and if it works, that's great. If not, that's okay too. It was still a good trade. And so right here, I did get in, we had a pop up, and then on this flush back down, let me zoom in a little more. This flush back down, I did enter because I thought it was going to hold. So full size would have been 4 shares to the 220 level, but I took 2 because I was trying to slowly build in to this position. And so I think I had an average of like, what was my average? I had an average of 221.30. So just about right here, which is, it's a decent average, but we did fail. And then as soon as we closed below VWAP and this 220 level, I exited. So I got out a bit low at like 49. But, you know, I still let the trade prove me wrong, and it was still a good stop out because, as you can see, we rolled over almost the entire day. We had an insane drop this morning. I was not expecting a day like this whatsoever. All right, so here's the first trade I took on the NQ today in my prop firm account. And so this was a break and retest of previous day's high and of this kind of supply turn demand zone. It was also on the daily chart, you can see that the market was breaking out today. So it was also a break and retest for all-time highs. And we did make a new all-time high today of 18,436.5. The previous all-time high was over here on March 4th from 18,377.75. So that was my thesis for this trade. And I was hoping for it to kind of consolidate. My mentor and I, my mentor is the Honor Trader. Check his channel out. Really good content. We're both looking to trade this break and retest. And we're both hoping for it to consolidate. So when it started leaving these bottoming tails here at like 1040, 1039, wick bottom at 1038, I think we both got a starter in at this 1040 candle. I entered one contract at, what was that, like 18,374, but I did have a wide stop loss. My stop loss was all the way down here at 18,337.5 roughly. If it closed below VWAP and moved lower, I was going to stop out. So I had a wider stop loss because it is a pullback trade also, as well. And I was able to kind of think that maybe we might be moving back down to VWAP to test it and then move higher. So I did give myself a little bit more room in this trade. But connecting that to the lesson that we're learning today, right? We actually did pop up here at 1041. And that's where I exited my trade, and we popped into the 5-minute 9 EMA. And the reason why I exited is because my trade thesis wasn't entirely playing out, and so I was executing appropriately. So I was hoping for consolidation so I can slowly build into the trade and scale in. But as soon as we kind of popped up right away and that trade thesis didn't happen, that's why I got out. My mentor got out for the same reasons as well. I think we both exited on that candle. So that's what I mean by just trading your thesis appropriately and just executing with right stops, good exits, good entries, and stuff like that. All right, so here's the last trade I took today, and it was a V shape on the NQ. It was a quick scalp, only on one MNQ. I got in down here at like 18,176 at 1133, and I exited over here at 195 something, I'm pretty sure. So my stop loss was to low of day of this 1132 candle at 18,149. The thesis behind this trade was we were super extended. We just flushed straight from the highs to the downside. So I'm looking for it to kind of snap back. A lot of times I use this analogy, and I forgot who started this analogy. It could have been live traders, but basically the market can act like a rubber band. If it gets too stretched out, it's going to snap back. And so that's why I was looking to trade today. And for whatever reason, Nvidia actually caught a massive flush out. And that's what tanked the market today. So we looked like we were going to be super bullish in the morning, and then just flipped, and we had massive volume come in on this flush back down. So taking all that into consideration, I was looking for an exhaustion move and to kind of grab a quick scalp on the way back up because we just, the bears needed a break. And so I did get in here after I saw this kind of ending volume. We had a surge of volume towards the end of this V shape, and I was like, okay, that's an ending volume move. So I'm going to enter my risk after this green engulfing candle, not engulfing candle, but this green bottoming to 1132. And then I took that for a quick scalp. So I had a good stop loss, I had a good entry, I had a good thesis, all of that lined up well. My exit probably could have been a bit better. But besides that, it was still a solid trade, solid green day. And then we did move lower after that. So I'm happy with that scalp. It's not like I missed out on some huge macro move back up to previous day's close or VWAP or something like that. And that brings us to the end of this video. Be sure to comment, like, subscribe, turn that notifications bell so you don't miss out on any trading content. I hope you guys are learning a lot from these videos. I'm really doing my best to put out good quality content for you guys. And remember, today's lesson, make sure your trade execution lines up with your trading thesis, including entries, exits, stop loss. So that's it. Be sure to snag that discount below through Apex. 71% off right now. And as you can see, only 5 days left to grab it. So use my code below or the link in the description to claim that discount. All right, guys, have a great weekend. God bless.